Okay, so we are ready to get started. This is the Heart Health and Longevity Blueprint Masterclass, and I am so excited to share this information with you. I'm so passionate about these topics. This is going to be all about the root cause factors that lead to cardiovascular disease over time. We're going to learn about the gut, we're going to learn about the nervous system, we're going to learn about movement and sleep and stress and metabolic dysfunction and the role of the gut. There's so much here. And what I really want you to walk away with is a feeling of hope, because truly that's why I do this work. I worked in cardiac rehab for 25 years, and I saw a lot of people coming into our program multiple times. And, they were having their first heart attack, then their second heart attack, then their third heart attack. They were having multiple stents, then they had bypass surgery. They were losing hope. They were like, this is just going to be my life now. And since I learned about the functional medicine approach to heart health, I have learned that there's so much that we can do to slow, to stop, or even reverse cardiovascular disease. Yes, there are genetics that put us at risk, but we can even change the way our genes get expressed by the way that we live our lives and the decisions and the choices that we make on a day-to-day basis. So I have shared my screen. I am going to go back to that so that I can be right along with you looking at the slides. So let me come back to my screen. Okay, so Heart Health Blueprint. Get to the next screen. Okay, come on, there we go. So before we dive in, I want you to know exactly what you're going to walk away with today. So first, we're going to talk all about why cholesterol isn't the full story. Cholesterol is often blamed, but it's rarely the root driver. It is involved, but it's rarely the root driver. So we'll look at what actually creates arterial damage to begin with. Then we'll unpack why blood pressure is often a symptom and not a disease. Blood pressure rises for reasons like insulin resistance, mineral imbalance, nervous system dysregulation, inflammation. When we address the terrain of the body, the numbers often follow. We'll also cover how the gut affects the heart. Your microbiome influences your inflammation in your body, cholesterol metabolism, vascular health, and more. And like so much that we're going to cover that people never even realize, they're never even told. Then we'll discuss how the nervous system affects the heart. Stress is not just emotional, it is biochemical. It changes our cortisol, other hormones, blood pressure, heart rhythm, and our ability to recover. And most importantly, I'm going to give you actionable steps you can begin implementing immediately. Finally, I will share how I can support you further if this resonates, because education is powerful, but implementation is where the transformation happens. So inside my Heart Health and Longevity Blueprint program, we go deeper into personalized lab interpretation, insulin and metabolic stabilization, using CGMs for guidance, nutrition restructuring and support, nervous system regulation and support, sustainable weight loss and visceral fat reduction, mineral balance, and blood pressure support. There are 2 levels to do my program. So I have a foundations level for people who are self-paced and good self-learners. And then I have my signature program for people who want a little more direct guided support. So if you stay with me to the end, I will share a special opportunity, including a discount as a thank you for investing your time and attention in your health today. My goal is not to pressure you, it is to equip you. And for those who are ready to move from awareness to action, I'll make that next step feel very simple. So let's begin. All right. Oh, 1 second here while I change my other slide. Okay, so I am Angie Gallagher. I am a functional medicine wellness coach. I'm a former cardiac rehab clinician for 25 years. I was the cardiac rehab director for 18 years. And I'm here to help you understand what truly drives vascular disease and risk for heart attack, stroke, peripheral vascular disease, and dementia, and how to optimize vascular and overall health so that you can not only survive, you can thrive. All right, heart disease is still the #1 cause of death and disability. Most people are told your cholesterol is high, you need a statin, you've got to reduce your sodium intake to drop your blood pressure. But very few people are told why inflammation is present, why blood pressure is rising, and why the heart is under strain. And that's what functional medicine aims to do, is really uncover why things are not working instead of just masking it by putting, by taking a medication for it. All right, and why I do this work. Here's a picture of me in cardiac rehab working with one of my favorite patients who was someone who had multiple cardiac events, and we got to know him quite well. So with my background in cardiac rehab, I saw a lot of compliant patients. They were doing everything they were told to do. They were active, they were exercising, they were taking their medications, but they were coming back with second and third events. And seeing people do everything right, yet still struggle, just wasn't sitting well with me. I knew there was something else going on. So I started going down rabbit holes and discovered the functional medicine approach. And what I realized is you can't out-exercise or out-medicate a dysregulated metabolism, chronic inflammation, oxidative stress, or nervous system dysregulation. So I didn't leave cardiac rehab because I don't believe in medicine. I left because I wanted to address the true root drivers for cardiovascular disease. So the fire didn't start the fire. This is a phrase you commonly hear in the functional world. Cholesterol is a responder. It is not the cause. So this is an important thing to remember because cholesterol serves many roles in the body. So the real drivers of vascular disease, of damage to the lining of your artery, are inflammation and glycation in your body. We'll explore what those mean. Oxidative stress inside the body, insulin resistance, and nervous system dysregulation. These are not in order of importance. Some people have, more issues with nervous system and less issues with inflammation, but they all matter. Each of these things will damage the endothelium and cause cholesterol to show up to repair. So heart disease doesn't start with cholesterol numbers. It starts years earlier with metabolism, gut, nervous system, and oxidative stress imbalances. All right, so this is a client that came to me after having some issues with a cardiac arrhythmia. So he learned just how much his lifestyle affected inflammation, which is one of the triggers for his arrhythmia. So I do work with people with a wide variety of cardiovascular risks. There are certain types of people with certain diagnoses that are not ideal clients for me, but I do work with a lot of people helping support the body. I don't diagnose, I don't treat disease. I help support the body and the body's ability to heal. Okay, so when we talk about heart disease, most people immediately think of cholesterol, like we talked about, but long before cholesterol becomes a visible issue, metabolic dysfunction is quietly building. Insulin resistance is one of the biggest and earliest drivers. When cells stop responding efficiently to insulin, the pancreas produces more insulin. Chronically elevated insulin doesn't just affect blood sugar, it promotes inflammation, visceral fat, that deep belly fat around the organs, storage there, triglyceride production, and even sodium retention, which is influencing our blood pressure. So having an elevated A1C tells us that glucose has been circulating at higher levels over time, and this leads to glycation. Glycation is where glucose binds to proteins, which damages blood vessels and impairs endothelial function. Endothelium is the lining of the artery. Triglycerides are not just a lipid number, they're often a reflection of excess carbohydrate intake and insulin resistance. Triglycerides are strongly associated with cardiovascular risk and metabolic dysfunction. Visceral fat is particularly important. Unlike the subcutaneous fat that sits just underneath the skin, visceral fat is metabolically active. It secretes inflammatory cytokines and worsens insulin resistance, and it's strongly correlated with heart disease risk. And finally, blood pressure variability. When metabolism is unstable, blood pressure tends to fluctuate more. Insulin and sodium retention, endothelial stiffness, and nervous system dysregulation all play a role here. So the key message is most heart disease is fueled by metabolic stress long before the symptoms appear. This is why focusing on cholesterol misses the bigger picture. If we stabilize blood sugar, reduce insulin, lower triglycerides, decrease visceral fat, and calm the nervous system, we're protecting the heart at its roots. Metabolic health is cardiovascular health. Okay, this client was amazed at how much her metabolic health was a key driver in her heart condition. With a CGM, a continuous glucose monitor that you put on your arm, and a regular coaching session, she was able to improve her metabolic labs significantly, and her energy and exercise stamina improved beyond what they were before her diagnosis. So it's been really fun to see her progression as I've coached her over the last year and a half or so. Okay, this slide is one of my favorites because it changes how people think about heart disease. So your arteries are listening to your gut. We cannot take the gut out of the equation when it comes to cardiovascular disease. We often separate digestive health and cardiovascular health in the Western medicine world, but they're deeply connected. So let's walk through how. So first, leaky gut. Leaky gut activates the immune system. So when the intestinal lining becomes more permeable, meaning there's gaps between the cells of the gut wall, particles that should stay inside the gut enter the bloodstream. The immune system sees these as threats and it begins to activate. So we end up with chronic immune inflammation because it's seeing these things coming through meal after snack. And so it's just on constant vigilance. And then this constant vigilance means that we end up with chronic inflammation. Inflammation is an immune-mediated response. And inflammation is a central driver of arterial plaque development and instability. The inflammation damages that endothelial lining, and that damage is what causes the cholesterol to go there to start to repair it, so that we end up with a plaque and a narrowing of the artery. So, and additionally, endotoxins, or what we call LPS, which stands for lipopolysaccharides, those actually will also enter the bloodstream and cause arterial inflammation and damage. So these are bacteria that are in the gut that are supposed to remain in the gut, but if we have leaky gut, we have those gaps in the cell membrane, the LPS can enter through that gut wall, again, entering circulation, and your immune system is seeing these LPS particles as dangerous, and it's mounting an attack. So, and then we also have, if we have poor digestion, so if we have poor digestion, we have nutrient deficiencies. So if stomach acid is low, which is very common, or if digestive function is impaired by maybe not enough digestive enzymes, or maybe we don't make enough bile because our cholesterol level might be driven too low with a statin, and we're not able to make enough bile. So digestive function is impaired, and you may not absorb certain key nutrients like magnesium, B vitamins, zinc, and fat-soluble vitamins A, D, E, and K. These nutrients are essential for vascular tonality, to keep the vessels flexible, for mitochondrial function, for blood pressure regulation, and you can be eating well, but not absorbing. So that's really the key here. It's like, it's not what you eat, it's what your body absorbs. And if you have issues at any level of digestion, you could be not absorbing those nutrients. And then finally, the microbiome. It influences cholesterol metabolism and blood pressure. Certain gut bacteria affect bile acid recycling, short-chain fatty acid production, and even nitric oxide pathways. And these are going to influence LDL levels, triglycerides, vascular relaxation, and overall cardiovascular risk. So when we support gut health through lots of various fibers, diversity of fibers and plant foods, fermented foods, getting adequate protein, proper healthy digestion, and stress regulation, we're directly supporting the heart. The gut axis reminds us that the gut-heart axis reminds us that heart disease is not just a lipid problem. It's a terrain problem, and the gut is part of that terrain. Okay, so what else can be reversed when you heal the gut? So this is, I love this slide because, and this is not my actual patient, but I had a patient who came to me for improving heart health because he had been diagnosed with vascular disease and plaque buildup in one of his arteries. And so he wanted to do everything he could to reduce his risk. And so together we set him up on a gut healing protocol that tightened up the junctions between the gut cells. We took inflammatory foods out. We looked at, what else could he do to balance his nervous system. We did all the things. And lo and behold, he told me about 3 or 4 weeks into our work together that his psoriasis had gone away. And I was over the moon about that. He didn't even tell me that he had psoriasis, and he would wear these gloves that would protect his hands because he had a lot of the plaque psoriasis affecting his hands, and he was a golfer. And so it was really hard for him to golf, and he had to wear these special gloves. And he said, after being on my program for 4 weeks, the psoriasis went away. Psoriasis is an autoimmune condition, and many other autoimmune conditions like rheumatoid arthritis, various other bowel-related issues that are autoimmune can be reversed, can be put in remission when we heal the gut. So we see people with IBS, chronic headaches, allergies, chronic fatigue, chronic pain, anxiety, depression. All the list goes on and on and on. I mean, it's like hundreds of things long. I had someone get off of their asthma medication because they no longer had inflammation in their airways and in their lungs, so they didn't need their asthma medication anymore. So it's pretty exciting, the things that we can see when we really address health at those most root levels. Okay, so I know I'm going fast, but there's a lot to cover. So we're gonna move into stress. So when we talk about stress, many people think of it as something psychological, something that you should just handle it better. But stress is profoundly physiological. It is experienced in our body, and it directly affects the heart. So first, sympathetic dominance, meaning you're in your fight or flight side of your nervous system. When you're under chronic stress, your nervous system shifts into this fight or flight mode, and this increases heart rate, it constricts blood vessels, and it raises blood pressure. And if this is a chronic state, then you can imagine that high blood pressure over time is putting strain on the artery walls. Okay, second, elevated cortisol. So cortisol in itself serves an important purpose. We all need to have cortisol circulating in our body and being secreted at higher levels at certain times and lower levels at certain times. But when we're chronically stuck in our fight or flight, our cortisol regulation becomes very dysregulated, and we can have elevated cortisol kind of just throughout the day. We can have, it can cause us to have poor sleep. And it also is going to contribute to increased blood sugar. It's going to promote insulin resistance. It's going to encourage visceral fat storage and contribute to inflammation. So over time, that is a metabolic setup for cardiovascular risk. And then blood pressure variability. When the nervous system is dysregulated, blood pressure becomes more reactive. It spikes more easily, and it takes even longer to settle. So you'll find that your top number, maybe you normally were sitting at 120 or 126, but you've been under a lot of stress. Your top number is now 140 or 150. And then your bottom number is going to reflect that stress over time if it's unrelenting. So if you've been under, stress kind of unrelenting for months, then you might see that diastolic number climbing up into the upper 80s or hitting the low 90s. And it's going to take time to get that back down because it takes time for it to increase. So really important that we're addressing stress and that we're not just doing I'll go to a weekend retreat and I'll be fine. We have to really do the work to understand where the stress is coming from and how we can better manage it. Fourth, arrhythmias. So excess sympathetic activation and electrolyte shifts can make the heart more irritable. So many people notice that they start having more palpitations when they're stressed. This is not random. This is directly reflecting nervous system and autonomic imbalance. And then finally, poor recovery. So if the body is never fully returning to the parasympathetic rest and digest, then repair processes and healing are compromised. So we really need to get into that rest and digest where the body is able to heal. Sleep quality often suffers because we're just not getting into a state of rest and digest. Blood sugar gets harder to regulate. So this is why a calm nervous system is not optional for heart health. It's integral for heart health. Okay. Okay, so, why eating less, moving more, and just taking the medication misses the mark. So our bodies are profoundly unique. What works for one person may not work for another. And Western medicine guidelines don't take this into consideration. They have, here's the diagnosis, here's the medical treatment. They have a singular focus and a singular therapy, and it all ignores the root cause. Lab values are less stringent in a Western medicine model, and patients are not made aware of impending dangers until they already are showing signs of disease. So many people can be running a blood sugar of 98, and even 98 is considered in the normal, quote unquote, normal range. It's only 2 points away from being pre-diabetic. And you might not have a doctor talk to you about that number until, oh, now you've had a couple labs where your blood sugar has been 102 or 104, and now you're pre-diabetic. And it's going to take, how much damage has already been done. So we really need to be looking at labs from a functional lens and looking at, are things trending in the high normal? Or are they trending, in the low normal, and they're going to drop, too low? So looking at trends is a part of what functional medicine does. So working in the functional medicine coaching world, I have really learned how to embrace bio-individuality in how I coach. So I look at labs through a functional lens, and I point out trends that need to be addressed. So many of my clients continue to take a medication, but often they can lower their dose. Some of them are able to get off of blood pressure medications. Some of them are able to get off of blood sugar medications, but more importantly, they're addressing the root cause drivers, not just taking the pill. So our physiology is complex and deeply intertwined with our emotions. We really need to, remember that the body is designed to work well. And when things are not working well, we need to dive deeper. We need to look at things through a functional lens. So why is there an inflammation? Why is the LDL becoming oxidized and more dangerous? Why is blood pressure high despite medication? Why is stress hitting one person harder? Is there trauma? Is there toxicity or mold or something that's in the body causing resistance to weight loss? Because some people can be doing everything right, but they maybe have mold that hasn't been diagnosed. They have another toxic burden that hasn't been diagnosed. So really important that we look deeper and look through a functional lens. Okay, so this is one of my clients that went through my Heart Health and Longevity program, and he was blown away. You can read this slide, but he was blown away with everything he learned. And he was somebody who was already kind of doing the deep dive. He's someone I actually went to high school with, and so he was seeing some of my posts and had his own scare and was already going down rabbit holes for himself. And then he signed up to work with me, and he's just like, wow. He's like, all of the people who I am like learning from, these top biohackers and health podcasters, like everything you're saying is just in line with everything that I'm learning from them. And so it was just really validating for him to be a part of my program and to have it really aligning with the things that he was learning for himself. Okay, so steps that you can take today. So it's really important to me that you walk away from this time and you've dedicated some time out of your schedule to be here to listen to this webinar, this masterclass. And I really want you to feel like you leave here feeling like you've got some actionable steps that you can take away. So let's dive in. Okay, so food habits. So consider shortening your feeding window. So, and I say this also with a caveat. So if you are not somebody who feels chronically stressed, like you feel generally pretty chill, you might have a little bit of stress that comes up with work here and there, but mostly you feel like you're pretty chill. You're sleeping well, you're not feeling that wired but tired and like not able to sleep. And generally just like my nervous system doesn't feel like it's off. I feel pretty relaxed and happy. Shortening your feeding window. This can be an excellent way to improve your metabolic health and flexibility. However, the caveat is that fasting can be more stressful for people who are already in a fight or flight state. So for people who are they've been in a fight or flight state, they've been taxing their adrenals, the cortisol is just completely all over the board and dysregulated, it may be more harmful than helpful to shorten the feeding window. The body may interpret that as more stress. So it's really important to take it in context. This is part of why I like people to work with me directly, because we can really fine tune based on what's going on for you specifically. Snacking, however, like this is generally something that's not going to be helpful for very many people, especially mindless snacking. So I always tell people like the mindless snacking needs to go. If you are trying to take care of your adrenal glands and they need to be fed more often than just like 2 or 3 meals a day, then there may need to be some intentional snacks, but I like to call them small meals because snacking generally kind of implies that you're grabbing not so healthy food and you're doing it kind of mindlessly, like while you're working or while you're watching TV or whatever. And we don't want to do that. That needs to be something that we just say, No more. I am not somebody that grazes all day. I am a person that has moved on from that habit. Wearing a CGM. I have my continuous glucose monitor on right now. It is, I can't say enough about how helpful having that biofeedback is. When you see on your phone exactly what happens when you eat a plate of pasta, you can't argue with that. You know, it's like, that is data. Like, okay, I ate a plate of pasta, my blood sugar shot up to 180. That's not okay. So eating a plate of pasta needs to be something that I do on a very rare basis. And maybe I find alternatives to pasta, like maybe I use spaghetti squash or, you know, any number of other options. Limiting or eliminating processed foods that have more than 5 ingredients. When you do this, you are getting rid of a lot of garbage food. So garbage in, garbage out, we've all heard that, but truly, you know, what we put in our mouth matters. And it's not just calories. We need to get away from this idea that food is just calories and fuel. Food is information, and processed food contains a lot of garbage. So you're putting like bad information into your body when you eat a lot of processed foods, especially things that contain more than 5 ingredients. So I stay away from, you know, tortillas. I don't eat, you know, any like pre-made meals. I do enjoy like some rice crackers here and there, but it's usually just rice and seeds and no even added oils. So really paying attention. Like if you look at the standard tortillas on the shelves in the grocery store, they are full of garbage, just junk. Okay, make sure you have 4 to 8 ounces of protein, 4 to 8 ounces of protein at every meal. If you are a woman and a smaller woman, you might lean closer to 4 to 5 ounces. If you are a man and a larger man, then you might lean closer to 6 to 8 ounces. There's a couple different ways to look at protein. One of the functional medicine doctors I work with recommends people get 1 gram of protein per pound of ideal body weight. So, and that could be for people who are trying to gain weight. So if you're underweight, let's say you weigh 100 pounds and you want to weigh 120, you need to be eating 120 grams of protein. If you are, and then they also say that if you're overweight, then you should actually go a little heavier. So if you're, say, 150, but you want to weigh 130, then you should be trying to get closer to 150 grams of protein a day to support your body's needs at that weight, and then to support weight loss efforts. So there you go. There's your protein recommendation, but always combine it with healthy fat and complex carbs from veggies and fruits. We really want to make sure that our macros are well balanced, and we don't want to be eating them all separate from each other. You can see the plate here. It's got protein, it's got healthy fat, and it's got complex carbs, and all of those things are eaten together in one meal. Okay, aim for at least 25 different plant foods per week. The goal is 35, but I say start with trying to get 25 just to make the goal a little more achievable for people who are who have a little ways to go to get to that point. And you can keep track. You can keep track on a piece of paper. You can keep track on your phone, and just keep adding to your list every time you have a different and unique plant food for that week. And then limit alcohol to 1 to 2 times per week, or none. If you're not a drinker, you don't need to have it. There are polyphenols in some alcohol, but you can get those same polyphenols by just eating a good, diverse diet. We have learned that alcohol has a not so good effect on the microbiome, and it actually produces poison in the body. So it's not to say that you should never have it, but if you are a daily wine drinker, and I was for many years, and I cut that habit out, and I cannot tell you how much better I feel and how much better my gut is since I have done that. Okay, moving on. Okay, so we talked about CGMs, continuous glucose monitors. You can scan this to get to it'll take you to the Amazon store to get order a CGM. I will say this particular brand is often on back order. So I apologize if you scan the code and you want to get your continuous glucose monitor and it's not available. There are other brands. I would just maybe search Amazon and see what's getting decent reviews. Okay, so here's just a perfect example of a healthy plate. Okay, if your plates look like this, generally speaking, you are doing amazing. This is a healthy protein, healthy fats in the salmon. The salmon has all of it. It's got the protein and the healthy fat. You've got some healthy fat in the avocado. You've got complex carbs in the quinoa and complex carbs in the veggies. Like, that's a beautiful plate. Okay, so stress management habits. We talked about stress and the importance of recognizing when you are in your fight or flight. So we have to not find time for relaxation and downtime. We have to make time for relaxation and downtime. We have to carve out time in our schedule. I will admit that I have had a lot of issues with stress this year since April. And I took my blood pressure a little over a week ago and was horrified to find that it was 142/92 or something like that. I've never had high blood pressure ever. It's always run low. I've always been like 100/60 and never had to worry about it. So I was shocked. But when I think about the stress that I have been under, because it turns out it's hard to be a wellness coach in the age of GLP-1s. I have really, like, I've realized how much that stress has affected my health. So I've been making time for all of the things that I know take care of my nervous system. So I've been meditating in my sauna almost daily. I've been doing breath work that my friend Benedict, I have her breath work recording library. So I've been doing the stress management series. I've been prioritizing sleep. I've been taking a couple supplements to support my adrenal glands, but I've been making time to do the work, to do the support. I don't want to call it work. I want to call it support for my nervous system. Okay. So sleep, meditation. I get out into to nature regularly as a trail runner. It's a big part of my life. So I'm out in nature very often. I'm hugging trees. I'm using Benedict's breath work to learn how to breathe better throughout the day. I'm practicing gratitude. I do try to, be a hugger. We need physical contact. That helps to secrete oxytocin when we can have people in our lives that we can hug or, massage shoulders or just, physical touch. It's really important. We need to set boundaries. Some people are really not good at setting boundaries, and they don't feel worthy of love or of abundance unless they feel like they've earned it. And so that's a whole nother webinar to talk about. But set boundaries for your friends, for yourself, friend. Like, set boundaries. Love yourself enough. Know that you are worthy just by being you. You don't have to perform at a certain level or do certain things to be worthy of love. So figure out what amount of giving of yourself feels good and right, and what amount feels like you are now being self-sacrificial and your health is suffering because of not setting good boundaries. HeartMath is a great technology. I'm a HeartMath practitioner. You can Google heartmath.org to learn more about it. I don't have time to really talk about it too much, but it is a way to both get biofeedback, immediate biofeedback on your nervous system, and it's also a technique to improve nervous system balance. It's a really beautiful tool. It has been great for me. It has done a lot for my nervous system. So I am happy to chat with you about it. If it's something you'd like to learn more about, you feel free to message me, reach out on my website and message me, send me an email, follow me on Facebook or Instagram, and let's chat. And then light therapy. I'm wearing my light therapy patch today. It's on the back of my neck, so you can't see it, but it's called the X39. There's lots of different products that this company makes, but they're light therapy that reflect your body's light back to it. So it's the coolest thing. The technology is really incredible. The founder's really incredible. I'm happy to share more about that. But light therapy, there's thousands and thousands of articles on the benefits of light therapy. Okay. Physical movement habits. So moving your body a priority. And notice I didn't call this exercise. I didn't call it workout. I called it physical movement, because we need to think of our bodies as designed to move, and not think about it as a thing like, I've got to go to the gym and check it off. Like, we need to think of it as moving as just part of who we are. part of our life experience is moving our body, ideally moving our body in nature, and not think of it as work. I think that there's a big opportunity to bring movement into your life in a way that feels more nourishing rather than a way that feels like work. And some people just push their bodies so hard and their bodies just never feel safe. So we want to make moving a priority. We want to become a person that moves their body very regularly and doesn't create excuses. So, a lot of what I talk about in my program is we are becoming. We're always becoming. We're not stagnant. We're not supposed to be stagnant. We should always be growing. We should always be becoming the newer version of ourselves. And we get to decide who we're becoming. So are you becoming a person that makes moving your body a priority? If you are, then you will not look for excuses. Instead of excuses, you'll look for, you'll be a problem solver. You'll be like, okay, my schedule changed today. I wasn't able to do the normal thing that I do for moving my body. So what is my plan B? I'm going to be resourceful. I'm going to find a way to make it happen because it is a priority. And I am a person who makes moving a priority. Planning exercise snacks. So there's a lot of science coming out on the benefits of what we call exercise snacks. And this is really, really good news because this is basically saying you can break your exercise down into 2 to 4 minute bouts and do it throughout your day. So for people who are like, I don't have time to go to the gym. Are you kidding me? Like I gotta, get up in the morning and I gotta pack lunches and I gotta get my kids out the door and then I gotta go to work and I gotta get home and I gotta make dinner. When do I have time to go to the gym? When do I have time to go out and do an hour walk? So the good news is that exercise snacks are going to give you amazing benefits in 2 to 4 minutes, 3 to 4 times during your day. So do you have time after you get done with a meeting at work to take 2 to 4 minutes to do some like body weight squats, to do some lunges, to maybe go outside and just walk around your building? There is so much benefit to doing these kinds of things. So this is, again, the good news. It really is like there are no excuses. There's no excuses. If you have time to do 2 to 4 minutes, and who doesn't have that time? You should. If your company is saying absolutely you don't have time to do that, then work for a new company. You should be getting 2 15-minute breaks and a half-hour break during the day. So there is time to do some exercise snacks. Ideally, you're getting some connection into nature. I'm a huge advocate for connecting to nature. Our bodies are nature. We literally are nature, and we need to be connected to nature. So getting up in the morning, being under artificial light, getting ready for work, getting in the car, driving to work under artificial light, staying in a building all day, getting off work, getting in the car, going to the store, going home, cooking dinner. So many people are just in artificial light all day. They never get outside. If they do, it's literally just to walk to their car. So our bodies need more nature than that. They really do. And just getting up and being able to get natural light in your eyes in the morning, if at all possible. If you can't do that, getting out during the day, just getting outside. When I was working at the hospital, I would have coats and gear for every season of the year so that I could get outside and get natural light on my face. If it was really cold, my face and my hands might be the only thing that got natural light, but I got natural light. It's so important. We could go spend an hour talking about light, so I'm going to stop there. But you need natural light. Your muscles need to be regularly challenged. So if you never challenge your muscles, you never get stronger. It's like, and my mentor says your comfort zone is where your dreams go to die. Your comfort zone is also where your muscles go to die. We've got to challenge our muscles. And again, exercise snacks. You can get up. You can do lunges. If your lunges get easier, you can hold on to a dumbbell. You can get elastic bands. There's lots of ways to increase the challenge over time as your muscles get stronger. Trying new things. This can make, novelty sometimes is really helpful for people. They need novelty. They need something new to get excited about. And that's great. We're, as humans, we like novelty. So join a new exercise class. Maybe consider a new bike. Maybe consider a new piece of workout gear. Or someone gave me a chin-up bar that goes in the doorway. I freaking love my chin-up bar. I have elastic bands hanging from it, so I can do one pull-up with my full body weight, and then my muscles It's like, can't do anymore, but I've gotten to where I've increased what I can do by putting my feet in an elastic band. And now I can do more and more and more just with a little bit of assistance. I hang on it. I do ab crunches hanging from it. You can do so many things with something as simple as a chin-up bar. Find an accountability buddy. This is something that has been huge for me. Not everybody's comfortable with this. Not everybody's on social media, but I put a post out on our Corvallis Facebook page that said, I'm looking for people who enjoy bike riding, rock climbing, backpacking, playing music. I don't remember how many other things I did, paddleboarding. And people reached out. They saw my post and they're like, I'm looking for someone to paddleboard with too, or I'm looking for someone to go on bike rides with too. I made 5 new friends, and that was years ago, and they're still my friends. So we do have to put ourselves out there. One of my closest friends I met because I posted in the local running group that I was looking for someone to go trail running with. And if you follow me, you see her. I won't say her name, but I'm sure you know who she is. She's in half of my pictures. Because we have been trail running buddies now for years. I officiated her wedding. So all because of a post in a Facebook group. Setting small goals. We must celebrate every little step along the way. Every little bit of progress we have to celebrate. Celebrate every effort. You cannot wait until you get to a certain outcome to celebrate. We need that good energy and that good mojo to keep us moving forward. It's really important that celebrating, that giving yourself a high five, that really honoring what it took to put that effort forth. That's what must be celebrated, because that's just what pushes you to keep going. It's like being your own cheerleader. Cheerleaders exist for a reason, right? Like the team needs cheerleaders. We need to have that encouragement, and we can give it to ourselves by celebrating our efforts. So general lifestyle habits. We're going to go through these fast because we're getting short on time. So get the right kind of light at the right time. So we talked about getting out in the morning and getting that natural light on your face, getting out during the middle of the day and getting that natural light on your skin, in your eyes, but also avoiding the wrong kind of light. So when you're staying up till midnight and you're surrounding yourself with artificial light, and maybe you're watching TV, maybe you're scrolling on your phone, this is sending the wrong kind of light. We call it junk light. And it's confusing your brain, because we should be in harmony with the Earth's circadian rhythm. And, if we're staying up too late because we think that we're night owls or it's our me time, we're pushing back against the circadian rhythm that we should be trying to align ourselves with. And then if we're doing that at the same time, we're letting all this blue light come into our eyes. It's confusing our brain, because the brain is like, oh, blue light means daytime. Blue light means I should be not circulating melatonin because I should be awake. So we've got to take that blue light down, and you can do that wearing blue blocking glasses. I don't have mine with me, but otherwise I would show you. I found them on Amazon. They're not expensive at all. They're amazing. I love them. I do think they help me sleep better. I think that when I go to sleep, I fall asleep easier when I had been wearing my blue blocking glasses. So really important that you're getting the right light at the right time. Grounding to the earth, touching the earth. There's a ton of evidence about the importance of connecting with the earth. I like to say we're solar powered and we're earth powered, battery powered. So we get energy from the sun, we get energy from the earth. But if we never touch the earth, we're missing out on that form of energy. Practicing intentional gratitude. This is a key thing to do to get into that parasympathetic side of the nervous system. We can change a lot of physiology by being intentional about gratitude. Gratitude for the little things. Gratitude for the flower that's blooming outside. Gratitude for the cup of coffee that you have in the morning. Gratitude for the fact that you have a bed to lay on when you go to sleep. Gratitude for the pillow you rest your head on. Gratitude for having clothes to wear in the morning. I mean, we take so much for granted. And when we really remember how fortunate we are, and maybe even gratitude for the thing that you don't have yet, calling that in. When we have gratitude for the thing that we're trying to call into our life, that having gratitude ahead of time is like a magnet that pulls it toward you. Having gratitude for the health that you are working, that you are calling in, spending time with loved ones, pets, Actually being exposed to pets, especially pets that get outside, is really good for the microbiome. So really surrounding yourself with pets, horses, dogs, cats, anything that is getting outside. Stay present and curious. Curiosity is often the antidote to worry. Practicing self-awareness. I always say if I could give anyone a superpower, it would be the superpower of extreme self-awareness, because we can't change if we're not aware of the things that are keeping us stuck. Love yourself. Love and accept yourself. This is so key, because if you don't love yourself, that alone can put you into fight or flight. Your nervous system doesn't feel safe. If you're constantly like, you suck, you're not good enough, you're not skinny enough, you're not smart enough, none of you is enough, what is that saying to your nervous system? And I like to think of my nervous system as kind of like my child. Like my nervous system is like little Angie. And if I am constantly self-critical, if I'm always focusing on the things that I don't do well, if I'm always focusing on what I consider to be my deficiencies, little Angie is going to feel like not so safe. She's not going to feel loved. She's not going to feel like she can fully be herself. She's not going to be relaxed, that's for sure. She's going to be constantly on guard, because she's going to be like, I'm not welcome here. I'm not loved. I'm not enough. So like, I'm just like on guard. So think of your nervous system and as your child, and what are you telling yourself? What's the message that you're telling yourself? Practicing forgiveness, letting go of the shit that we don't need to be holding on to, getting away from all or nothing thinking. This is a big one. We've got to get away from all or nothing thinking. That holds so many people back, because they're like, if I'm not going to do it perfectly, I'm not going to do it. Got to get away from that. I've had so many people that I've coached, and they tell me the thing that helped them the most is that I gave them permission to not be perfect. They were trying so hard to be perfect. They were working with these functional medicine doctors, and they were trying to do everything, to the letter of the law. And I was like, it's okay to be imperfect. Don't hold yourself to such an impossible standard. And they're like, oh, I can finally relax. I can finally not feel like I'm just like on this constant need to be doing everything better. And so give yourself permission to not be perfect. Allow growth and change and evolution of self. We are supposed to be evolving. And when your nervous system feels threatened, all it wants to do is keep everything the same. So we've got to allow the nervous system to be relaxed. We've got to practice visualizing what it is we're trying to call in, and get that familiar vision in our head, so that our limbic system is like, oh, okay, yeah, we're familiar with that. Like, that's not so foreign, because we've been envisioning it. We've been practicing seeing this new way of being. So it no longer feels scary. It feels familiar. And let go of what no longer serves. What habits, what belief systems have you been stuck in that have kept you stuck? So maybe letting go of belief systems, of old mantras that you've kind of been telling yourself, like, I'm just a person that I sabotage, I self-sabotage. That's just what I do. Well, maybe you do that because you keep telling yourself that you do that. So let go of old belief systems, welcome in new ways of thinking and new ways of being. You are becoming a new person. So who is that person? What do they do? What do they stand for? What are their values? What do they set boundaries around? You can become that person. Okay, so this is a review from the gentleman who I told you about earlier, who had come to me after having a stent placed, but was able to eliminate another really, a condition that affected his quality of life. He got rid of his psoriasis. So you can read the slide, and hopefully you are. If you're not watching this, basically he just explains how working with me, it was a lot easier than he expected it to be, that he was taught, how to eat, what foods worked for his body, what foods were not working for his body, helped him to understand how to read food labels. And yeah, he just felt significantly better and healthier, and has so much more confidence in being able to go forward with a healthy lifestyle because of our work together. So pretty exciting. So the Heart Health, well, I changed the title, and I didn't get to change it on the slide, but it's called the Heart Health and Longevity Program. It's not a reset. It's a Heart Health and Longevity Program. because so much is already going well in your body. You're still here. You're still breathing. You're still with us. Your body is working for you on your behalf. So all we want to do is support it. So it's going to help it's a structured program for the body and the cardiovascular system to support it with education and implementation. When you have both the education and you know how to implement it, you get results. It's designed for prevention and secondary prevention. Medication reduction can be possible when physiology improves, but I do encourage that to be something that you make a decision with your provider. That's not something that you and I decide on together. Your doctor helps you decide that. Healing begins. The Heart Health and Longevity Program is a step-by-step program designed to reduce inflammation and support your arteries, stabilize your blood sugar and improve your energy, balance cholesterol naturally, and lower stress on your heart and your body. It's not about quick fixes or temporary changes. It's about giving your heart and your entire body the environment that it needs to heal and to thrive, all naturally, using nature. When you support heart health and longevity, you feel more energized and clear-headed. Your body becomes more resilient and balanced. You reduce your risk of heart disease and other chronic conditions like psoriasis and all the other autoimmune conditions. You gain a sustainable path to long-term health. And this isn't about just your heart. It's about creating a foundation for a healthier, more vibrant life. It's not just about having heart health. It's what does having heart health mean? It means being able to live out your full potential and purpose in this world. So if you're ready to take the next step, you can join the Heart Health and Longevity Program and start transforming your health from the inside out. So rebuilding that resilient heart. So some of the modules that you'll see in the program, we talk about optimizing metabolism. We talk about healing the gut, mindset and identity evolution as you are becoming a new version of yourself, removing toxins, exercise, sleep, and other self-care. We talk about healthy fats, fibers, hormones, and hearts, functional lab testing, managing stress, long-term sustainability, and what it means to just truly live to your full potential. So when we talk about labs through a functional lens, so I help people understand their numbers. I'm not the person that's making the diagnosis, but I'm helping people look at their numbers through functional reference ranges. So I can order labs. They don't get paid by your insurance if I order them because I'm not a doctor. But I can help you order labs. I can help you understand the results through a functional reference range. So we would be looking at inflammation markers. We'd be looking at lipids beyond just your LDL. So as you have probably heard now, there are subparticles called ApoB and Lp(a). So these are problematic proteins that are on the lipid particles that do put us at risk. They have damaging effect to the endothelial layer. When they become oxidized, they become even more dangerous. And we talk about reducing toxins in the body and supporting antioxidant status. When we talked about nutrition, we talked about stress management, all of those things are going to support your body's ability to neutralize free radicals. When we can neutralize free radicals because we're eating all of the healthy, rainbow of vegetables and fruits, we're managing stress, we're getting the stress levels down, we're optimizing our digestion, we're going to not have as much oxidized LDL or oxidized ApoB. So, there's a lot of science going on right now in the whole realm of Lp(a) and ApoB. Lp(a) we can't really do much about. It's genetic, it's hard to change. So it's something that we need to know if we have it, because if we have a high Lp(a), that just means we need to do everything we can within our locus of control to reduce risk in all the other areas. It is not a death sentence. I really want to emphasize that. It is not a death sentence. As you have learned in this masterclass, heart disease is multifactorial. There are lots of different things that inform whether or not you have cardiovascular risk. It's not just one number. So please, please hear that. People get really scared because they have one number that's out of range and they put themselves into fight or flight because they think it's going to kill me. It's a death sentence. It's going to kill me. And so then they're fight or flight. When you're in fight or flight, as you learned, like lots of other things can happen. So take a deep breath. And remember that heart disease is multifactorial. Just because one number is high does not mean that you automatically are going to have damage to your artery wall. When you are taking inflammation down, when you are getting metabolically healthy and you're not eating too many simple sugars and your insulin levels can naturally drop, when you're managing your stress and your blood pressure comes down, when you're eating all those whole healthy foods that are neutralizing free radicals, you're doing so much to protect your heart. Okay, so if you don't have heart disease, and if you are metabolically healthy, there is evidence that a high ApoB is not going to be that bad for you because it needs all of those other things to become dangerous. You can follow people like Nick Norwitz. He himself had high ApoB and a high Lp(a), and he is a research MD. And he puts out he does a lot of research, and he has put out a lot of information on cardiovascular health. And he breaks down the science, he explains it. And so there's a lot of information that if you are metabolically healthy and you have no known cardiovascular disease, that ApoB is maybe not something that you need to just immediately go on a statin for and completely overhaul your diet and eat no saturated fats. That's a whole other topic. Saturated fats do not cause heart disease. And many doctors will tell you, you got to stop eating eggs and stop eating red meat. It's the quality of the foods that you're eating. If you're eating a lot of industrialized red meat, if you're getting the cheapest of the cheap red meat at the grocery store and it's industrialized, and it's corn-fed and grain-fed, not so good for you. But if you're getting grass-fed local beef that's coming from a farmer or coming from a cattle ranch that is, where they're grass-fed and well taken care of, that could be just fine. And also there's individual variance in how we metabolize different foods. That's another reason to work with a functional provider, because you can do a lot of tests that look at how do you metabolize these different foods. Are you somebody that would benefit from maybe cutting back a little bit on red meat because of the way you metabolize? Lots of things that we look at in the functional realm. Okay. So we look at blood sugar patterns. So, I do encourage people to get a CGM if they're going to go through my program. There's a whole module on how to get your CGM, how to use it, how to read it, and then we coach on it. We look at nutrient deficiencies. This is critical, people. So many things happen in the body because people are deficient in nutrients. It could be because they're not eating them, or it could be because they're not absorbing them. So we look at nutrient deficiencies on lab work as well. Lots of things we can test for, and we don't have to. We can just simply put into place all of the functional health behavior strategies that we know will make a difference, that we know will move the needle. This program is for you if you want to prevent heart disease, if you've already had a cardiac event and you want deeper answers, if you're on meds but you would still like to improve your underlying health, if you're tired of fear-based advice, if you want more clarity and confidence around your health and your future, and if you want to support your body's ability to heal and thrive. So what makes us different is it's built on knowledge gained through decades working in cardiac rehab and working in the field of functional medicine. You get education and empowerment. It's a systems-based, not silo-based. So we look at how the body's systems all interact together. The heart is not independent of the hormones or the gut. We've got to understand how it's all intertwined. It's designed for real life. It honors both Western and functional medicine principles, and it's very action and implementation based. So like I said in the beginning, there are different ways to experience the program. There's the self-paced program where you get all of the modules, you get all of the recipes, the modules, the videos, all the information, and then you can come to the group coaching and check in, ask questions, celebrate. And then there's the higher touch program. So the foundations program is the self-paced, and then I have the signature program for people who really know that they are going to need a little more hand-holding, a little more attention, a little more customization. They're going to want to do the functional testing and have me review it, and give them, provide education on what their labs are saying about their body and their health. so that they can go back to their doctor and say, okay, I had all these tests run. This is what I've learned about them. And, here's what I'd like to do going forward. And can you get these into my chart? And anyway, so same level, same education, same group coaching, same Facebook private group, but different levels of touch points and one-on-one guidance. Okay, so if you're ready to really support your health, your overall health, and your heart health, you can get started today. You'll get personalized guidance and support, proven strategies to reduce inflammation and improve energy, and a community of like-minded individuals that are on the same journey. So if you can take the next step or the first step for a healthier heart and a more vibrant life. You can book a clarity call with me. So you can just get on a 20-minute free call to talk more about the program, ask any questions that you have, eliminate any confusion or frustration about what your next step should look like. And it's a no pressure call. I promise you, I am not a high pressure salesperson. I will just tell you how I can support you and what the possibilities are if we work together. So if you want to invest in your worry-free future so you can live to your fullest, I would encourage you to book that call. This is a breakdown of the cost of the program. So in fact, I'm actually doing a break on the prices. So you can look at this slide, but let's talk what the actual break is for being here today, the special discount for showing up and spending time with me today. So I'm going to take $150 off the foundations package. If you jump in, and you can use this code and sign up. If you want to set it up on an installment plan, you don't have to pay the whole thing up front. We can set it up on an installment plan. So you just need to jump in, book a discovery call, and we can chat about how to get started. And then if you want to do the signature package, I'm taking $500 off. And this, again, you can put it on an installment plan. We can put it on a 12-month installment plan. So it really makes it a lot easier on a month-to-month basis. But it is truly an investment in your future, an investment that you will not be sorry that you've made, because it will save you a lot of expense in the future in the form of worry, in the form of continual medical visits, in the form of just your quality of life not being what you want because you're not living the way you want. So there's a lot of costs associated with not taking action toward really, truly establishing foundational health, foundational heart health. I'm not saying that to scare you. I'm just saying if this is something that you've been struggling with, you can either keep struggling and keep worrying, or you can take a step toward having the freedom of health and confidence in your health so that you can live out your truest purpose in this life, that you can just really have the best years ahead of you, which is what we all deserve. Okay, so if you want to chat first, here is the link to do a free clarity call. So this is, again, a no pressure, free 20-minute call. Ask me any questions that you want. I can break it down for you more, explain a little bit more about what the program entails and how it can be helpful for you. All right, so the journey is just beginning, and I truly believe the best is yet to come. There is so much hope and so much promise in taking this kind of approach to your health. And I am super happy and excited to be supporting people in this way, and I would love for you to be one of those people as well. Thank you so much for being here today, and I'm going to stop sharing. If there are questions, let me get back to... Okay, if there are questions, I invite anyone to ask any questions. You can also just, if you want to direct message me, if you have just a couple questions and you follow me on social media, feel free to just direct message me and ask questions. But again, I'm happy to hop on a free clarity call as well. So again, thank you so much for being here today, and I look forward to hearing from you.